This week I am driving this sexy green beast right here, and this is the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio. This is the high performance, high horsepower version of the compact SUV. And this color is called Verde Montreal. So in addition to having a really eye-catching color, this is just, yeah, pretty awesome. So in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you 5 good things and 5 bad things. So 5 things I really liked and 5 things I didn't like so much on the Stelvio Quadrifoglio. My name is Jill Ciminillo, and let's take a closer look right now. Now, first things first, we've got to talk about this design because this looks like nothing else that you have seen on the road. From this stunning green paint to the triangular grille shape to the really eye-catching headlights. This is just a very unique signature, very unique to Alfa Romeo, obviously, but very unique in general to vehicles that we currently see on the road. So the eye-catching, interesting design has to be the first thing on my like list because every single detail is pretty cool, right down to these amazing, very open wheel covers and very large brake calipers. So I don't know, I love this car. I think that it looks really cool, and I've driven it on a racetrack, I've driven it on city streets, highways, you know, road trips, all of the things, and I've just gotten so many looks while driving this vehicle. And actually had somebody today, you know, kind of like honk at me and do the roll down your window symbol to tell me how much they like the car. So that's pretty awesome. Let's come inside and take a look at some of the interior details. Now, on the interior of the Stelvio Quadrifoglio, perhaps the first thing you might not notice is the stop-start button. I mean, how could you miss it, though, with it being right here in red? But a lot of people, and I've had many valets tell me that they didn't know how to start or turn off the vehicle because they couldn't find the stop-start button. They were looking here, and it's here. So powering up the Stelvio, you know, I will say the gauge cluster isn't super interesting, and yeah, I have more to say about this on my do not like list, but overall this does have the up-level sport seats, so that's an option, but the interior itself is just really well styled, from the material choices to the stitching to, you know, just everything about it. And I will point out there is a decided lack of black lacquer. You just have it kind of around some of the trimming edges, but otherwise you just have some really interesting and nice material choices. And on the steering wheel, you have some suede material, and I'll be very honest with you, I typically hate a suede steering wheel, like hate with a capital H, because it just feels icky on my hands. But look at where they put it. They put it right at the 9 and 3 position. So my hand itself is touching leather, but then like my thumb is touching the suede material, and it gets much better grip that way. And it doesn't feel icky on the palm of my hands. So that was really well done also. So thing number 1, I think this was just a really encompassing way to say I like the interior, exterior styling, and all of the details. And I should point out that the exterior paint, that Verde Montreal, is a $2,200 option. So yeah, let's be clear, this is not going to be cheap for the engine and the styling, but yeah, there's a lot to like here. And since I brought up the engine, let's move on to that. Next, you really can't mention likes on this vehicle without digging into the engine just a little bit, because this is a 2.9 liter twin turbo V6 engine that delivers 505 horsepower and 443 pound-feet of torque. And this is a really phenomenal power equation. In addition to the exhaust note that sounds amazing, this is just an incredibly powerful engine for a vehicle of this size. This is relatively compact, it's perfectly balanced, and it just goes. I had a lot of fun passing on the highway, merging onto the highway, exiting the highway, taking the corners, and just driving because this engine is amazing and just the overall handling of this vehicle is incredibly sporty and just a lot of fun to drive. I will even go so far as to say that this gives you just a little bit of a tummy flip when you really put your pedal to the metal and push that pedal all the way down to the floor. This is a lot of fun. This is a great engine, and this is a lot of fun. So this is going to be the second thing on my like list. All right, now the third thing I want to talk about is just the overall comfort of this vehicle, because frankly, I was surprised that it was as comfortable as it was. These seats are very well bolstered, and as you can see, they really pop out above my rib cage, and it's the same for the thigh bolsters. They just really kind of scoop up, and I just found them oddly comfortable. And even though the seats themselves are a little bit firm, it didn't bother me. And I sat in this seat for 3 hours going one way and 3 hours coming back, and that is plenty of time to tell if you are going to find the seats uncomfortable. And I will also say my husband sat in the passenger seat, and he usually complains if he doesn't like the seats, and he did not mention the seats on the Stelvio, so I'm going to consider that a win, and I'm going to say that he thought they were fairly comfortable. Along with that, you know, just overall, I have a really good driving position. I feel like I am far enough away from the steering wheel. Like, that is definitely more than 10 inches, which is what the NHTSA recommends. And, you know, then, like, I have, like, really good, like, my wrist is just dropping over the top of the wheel, and I don't know, this just is really comfortable. So the driving position is good, the seats are comfortable, and yeah, it was actually a surprise to me because sporty seats and comfort don't usually go together. Now the fourth thing on the like list is going to be what I like to call marriage-saving features. So you can see you have dual automatic climate control here, and for a 6-hour total of driving time with my husband, you can see he had it set at 68, I had it set on 75, which made us both happy. And I will also point out there are heated seats and a heated steering wheel, which made me super happy because, yeah, even with the climate at 75, I did very often turn on the heated seat and the steering wheel. So as a part of that, I will point out also on the like list, roll this into number 4 as well, the heated seat and the heated steering wheel worked really, really well. So also a part of the marriage-saving features is going to be the memory seats for the driving position, and you have 1, 2, 3 settings. Now obviously if there's just 2 of you, you only need 1 and 2, but the fact that you have 3 is really nice, but the fact that you have 2, super helpful if you have 2 drivers in your family and they are not the same size. People often give me a hard time saying that I do not move the seat back, but I do, and that somebody will get into the vehicle and then like eat the steering wheel. But this right here helps prevent all of that because you just hit 1 or 2 or, well, 3, depending on the driver. So marriage-saving feature. Nobody gets to eat the steering wheel, and nobody is too warm or too cold. Now the final thing on the good list or the like list is going to be the redundancy of controls. Some people really hate to have fingerprints on the infotainment screen, so they don't want to use this as a touch screen. And some people really hate the idea of a touch controller. But this gives you the option of both so that you can pick one, or I mean, if you wanted to use both, if you wanted to scroll through your screens, for example, that makes it really easy just to use your dial. Or if you go into the radio and you wanted to scroll through stations, hit the browse button and you can kind of, you know, do that. So that might be easier than doing this, but the fact that you can do both, swipe or control with the dial, is definitely something I like because you're not pigeonholed into one or the other. Why not both? I love the fact that it gives you the option of both. Please all of the people all of the time. So that is going to be the final thing on my like list. It is now time to dig into the things that I don't like on the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio, and yeah, we're back in this position. While I generally like the driving position and I have very good visibility out of the front windows, this right here is a little bit of a problem. It is very big and chunky, plus with the steep rake of the windshield, it just really kind of blocks my view, and coupled with that is this side mirror right here, which just creates a bit of a vortex of a blind spot that causes a problem for me when I am in a four-way stop. So during the drive period, driving on the highway, totally fine, had no problems. But if I needed to see anything in this area here, I find myself doing this a lot, kind of looking around the A-pillar. And yes, this is a short person problem. People who are taller may not have the problem, but the way that this is set up could be a problem even for drivers that are on the taller side of things, just because this right here is chunked together, and I think that's going to be a blind spot for a lot of people. Now, the second thing that I don't like is going to center on this button right here. In addition to the stupid placement of the button really awkwardly on this side of the steering wheel instead of, I don't know, having it here where your other drive controls are, I just think it's kind of silly that the 505 horsepower high performance version of the Alfa Romeo Stelvio has stop start. I mean, so and it's just kind of a clunky situation. I don't like automatic stop start on a good day, but with this vehicle, it just kind of is like, you know, like shutting down, turning on. And so you have to remember to hit that button every time you get in the vehicle. It doesn't stay off. And I just maybe put it in your other models, but your vehicle that has 505 horsepower, that just seems a little bit off to me. So don't like the location of the button, don't like the fact that you have to turn it off every time you get into the car, and I don't like the actual functional operation of it, and I don't like the fact that it's in this vehicle in the first place. Yeah, so I don't like that. Now, the next thing that I don't like is going to be the size of the screen. And I get it, this vehicle is entering the end of its life cycle, so it's kind of designed on old tech. But the screen is kind of small, and you know, sometimes the icons, when you're trying to hit them, are a little bit small. You know, I mean, I like the fact that you can, well, you should be able to drag and drop and maneuver. So, I mean, it just, I don't know, these are a little bit small, it's hard to deal with, and that obviously isn't working for me. And so I don't know, you know, sometimes it was just a little bit small and a little bit hard to deal with in terms of what you were seeing here on this screen. And when my fingers were cold, it also didn't work very well for me, because it just wasn't reading that my fingers were actually touching the screen. It says more about me than the screen, but there you have it. And the fourth thing on the list also kind of has to do with this area, and that is going to be the fact that yes, this does have Apple CarPlay, but because of the small screen, the icons are small. And here's the really weird part. You don't use this port here to wire in. Nope. You use this port right here. So I actually went pretty much the entire test period without getting Apple CarPlay to work, because I didn't realize it was this port, not this port, to wire in. So I don't know, I think the logistics, because there is a little place for you to put your phone if you were wiring it in here. The logistics of that to me is a little bit weird, especially since this right here is wireless charging. And yeah, okay, you can kind of set your phone there and then have your cord go through here. But then, I don't know, you have to futz with all this stuff and shove it in there before you shut this, and I don't know. And this brings up a whole nother issue. Why do you have wireless charging if you don't have wireless Apple CarPlay? I'm just putting this all in for, because I think the wirelessness or lack of wirelessness is a bit of a problem, and the location of wiring in for your Apple CarPlay, and yeah, this actually overheated my phone. So, I don't know. Didn't like any of that. So 3, small screen, 4, small screen with Apple CarPlay and weird wiring in situation and weird wireless charging. Now, the final thing on my do not like list has to do with this right here. Bug guts on my windshield. And you want to know why the bug guts are on my windshield? Is because of the windshield wipers. So, all right, your stock is right here, hiding behind these oversized paddles. But in order to get this to work, so I'm going to move this forward and I'm going to try and get rid of the bug guts. So here's the thing. The water, if you noticed, is shooting out kind of above where this is. So even though it trickles down, it's shooting out of the wiper blade itself. And it just never, like, especially while I was driving at speed, the liquid never actually trickled down onto the spot to be able to wipe it away. So instead, what it did is it just kind of smeared the bug gut across my windshield, and it annoyed me. And I will say also, when I was driving at speed, this was so forceful with the spray that the spray itself just kind of came down the side of my window, and again, it just felt like I was wasting a lot of windshield washer fluid as it came out of the windshield wiper itself rather than nozzles on the hood. And I don't know, I just don't think this works very well. Another thing to point out is I've had other vehicles that have had windshield washer fluid come out of the wiper itself in the winter, and when it's really cold, it freezes. Don't have as much of a problem with that when it's coming out of, you know, the hood where the engine is. So I don't know, that to me is also a little bit of a problem. Didn't experience it this time in this vehicle because it's like 70 degrees today, but all right, it is now time to do some brief driving impressions, and it's been a while since I've driven the Quadrifoglio, and I have to admit the last time I drove it I was on a racetrack. So living with this for a week is definitely a lot different than driving it on a racetrack. So I'm pleased to report that this is actually really, really comfortable for the long haul and just for short urban drives. The 505 horsepower engine is really peppy. I think that the ride is a little bit stiff, so if you're driving over a lot of uneven pavement or you have some speed bumps, like that could be a little bit of problematic if you're encountering that all the time. But on the highway, during a commute, for a road trip, this is just really, really nice. I think some of the safety systems are a little bit squawky, but I'm pretty sure you can turn those things off. But why would you? They're there for a reason. Overall, I like the styling of the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio. The color on this vehicle is stunning, and I just generally like the overall design. I feel like this is sporty, and it looks sporty, and it feels sporty, and it drives sporty, and it's just, from the exhaust note to the horsepower to the overall experience of this vehicle, it's just chef's kiss. But I will say, as a petite driver, I do have good visibility out the front, but there's that but. This A-pillar is a little bit chunky, which means that my visibility kind of, like if I'm stopped at a crosswalk, so looking there is a little bit ish. But other than that, I wouldn't say I have too many visibility issues. The right rear quarter is a little bit tough if you're at an awkward turn and you're trying to see if somebody's coming at you to cross the street. But outside of that, you know, I think visibility for as petite as a vehicle as this is, you know, the visibility isn't bad. So if I had to summarize, the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio, I would say this is a compact SUV that packs a punch. It's a lot of fun to drive, but it's also comfortable for the long haul. All right, I think that is all I have to say about the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio. It's quite a mouthful, but that's all I have to say. So thanks for watching, and I will see you down the road.